Should crypto be banned? This isn't an easy question to answer. I prefer to view the world in terms of spectrums rather than binaries. There isn't usually an easy yes or no answer to anything, let alone something this complicated. There are just a range of possible outcomes, each with trade-offs and externalities. On one end of the spectrum is a complete crypto ban. On the other end is a complete laissez-faire crypto free market. I like to state my bias up front because it helps me better understand my own views. In general, I tend to naturally oppose any extreme positions and favor answers somewhere in the middle. Almost complete crypto laissez-faire is what we've had for most of the past decade, and clearly that's not working. Countries have developed financial regulations for reasons, and those reasons become ever more clear and justified as crypto exchanges fall one by one, taking the deposits of millions of customers with them. The promise of crypto was decentralized, permissionless, and trustless, but taking on that much personal responsibility was never really practical for ordinary people who just want things to work without understanding how they work. Crypto without intermediaries, in practice, hasn't proven to be compatible with mass adoption. Crypto with intermediaries defeats the purpose of crypto and introduces way too much risk for ordinary people who aren't equipped to understand it. And that assumes people are actually using crypto for legal things. The reality is that most people fall into one of two buckets. Crypto will make me rich, or crypto will help me commit crimes. I'm not sure who would argue either of those things is good. People should get rich by creating wealth, not taking it from others. And crypto doesn't create wealth, so it should never be the source of someone's riches. We can always have discussions about whether specific laws should be changed or ignored, like in the case of oppressive totalitarian regimes, but it's difficult to take people seriously who argue no laws should apply, ever. The extreme position just doesn't make sense. The problem with complete crypto bans is that it could have the effect of ending research and non-commercial uses of crypto. As much as I dislike the way people use crypto today, I have no problem with them doing the equivalent of experiments in a lab, playing with different ideas and trying to find ways to make something useful. I often say nobody can predict the future, and I really believe that. Let people play, let people fail, let people learn. Most likely nothing will come of it because blockchains are a terrible solution to almost every problem, but there are many terrible ways to write software that aren't banned by the government. The problem isn't really the software. It's the scams people build with the software. It's the lies, false promises, and magical properties people assign to the scams. Nuance is important in life. Putting energy consumption, implications for criminality, and other specific implementation details aside for a moment, when Bitcoin was new and people still thought it could be a useful medium of exchange, I didn't find it offensive. I found it fascinating. I distinctly remember comparing it in my mind to SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, where people lent spare CPU cycles on their home computers to do something useful, scan radio signals for signs of life. If Bitcoin could actually deliver on the promise made back in those days, there is a lot to like about the concept of decentralized digital money that you own. What ultimately turned me off were the moon boys creating crypto-religious cults, the childishness, incompetence, proliferation of scams, and the mistaken belief that merely holding Bitcoin was some kind of noble act that made you deserving of compensation with extreme riches. I distinctly remember being repulsed by the magnitude of stupidity on the Bitcoin subreddit and unsubscribing out of frustration. But if there is one legitimate question that has emerged from crypto so far, it's whether financial services should be global internet scale, like Google or Facebook. We don't region lock WhatsApp. Why do we region lock access to online banking services? Obviously, we don't need crypto to solve that problem. As I've said multiple times, anything you can build with a blockchain can be built better without one. But it is a valid question worth thinking about. A transparently audited, fully backed, and responsibly managed stablecoin that can be accessed by anyone from anywhere is providing a novel service that could have utility for people in countries with unstable governments or untrustworthy banking services. Why not build a version of that without a blockchain? I don't know the answer, but if crypto causes us to think about the question, that sounds like something good may have come of it. So the extreme position of just banning it without thinking about any of the questions it poses doesn't make sense either. I haven't spent enough time thinking about specific regulations to have a policy proposal, but again, stating my bias up front, I'm of the opinion that crypto is mostly useless for most people, so any regulation that simply results in ending Ponzi and pyramid schemes will likely result in most people forgetting about crypto anyway. And when professional traders can no longer siphon profits off unsuspecting financially illiterate rubes, they also will probably lose interest. And if liquidity disappearing is coupled with rules governing the on and off ramps from traditional financial systems, that will make money laundering much more difficult and criminals may start to lose interest. It could all unravel one thread at a time with minimal intervention. Ultimately, something needs to be useful for people to use it, and if nobody uses it, then we should be careful not to waste too much time worrying about it. If you found this content helpful, please consider liking the video and subscribing to my channel. It really does help get this channel more exposure and keep me motivated to produce more content.